everybody, my name is Victoria and today we are going to be doing the Halloween song book tag. This tag was created by Nicole over at A Beautiful Chaos of Books, and she is just making really great content. I have been following her videos for quite some time now, and I think she's fabulous. I thought this tag was really cute and original, and I love music, so anything based off of music I'm down to do. Nicole also created an actual playlist on Spotify that you can listen to and follow along with, so that's also linked down below in the description. Question number 1 is Thriller, a book that was an absolute page turner, and this question is based on the famous Michael Jackson song Thriller. A book that I read in recent times that was a really good thriller was Recursion by Blake Crouch. I read this back in the summertime, I think, and this is about a world in which memory is being played around with. So we have this epidemic happening where people wake up one day with memories of a completely different life that they've never lived, and basically their reality is just completely shaken because where did these memories come from? They'll remember like a spouse that they never had, or kids that they don't actually have in real life, but they have a memory of this other life. And the book is all about why that's happening, who's causing this, and it's just a really interesting premise. It's really well written. We go between a couple perspectives between a woman and a man, and then eventually their stories kind of collide, and I just couldn't put this down. Read it very quickly. I'm not a big thriller reader in general, not because I don't like them, but more because I don't know where to start. I just haven't had that many thriller reading experiences, but I really enjoyed this one. I think maybe I will enjoy more like sci-fi type thrillers rather than domestic thrillers, but I don't know, I need to read more thrillers and see, but this one I was very happy that I picked up. This next question is based on the song Somebody's Watching Me by Rockwell, and this is a book that gave you the serious creeps. Earlier this year, I read We Have Always Lived in the Castle by Shirley Jackson. I actually buddy read this with Angie from Literary Labors, and this book gave me the serious creeps. It is so wonderfully creepy. Shirley Jackson is an author that I must read more of her works. This was just really great. This is a classic novel that follows a couple of sisters and their uncle, and they live in this house, but you get some clues from the author that tells you not everything is all right. So the townspeople have an incredibly strong bias against them for some reason, and they are very secluded. They don't let anyone near their property or around their property, and you just know in the beginning of this book that there are secrets and something happened. And so the whole book is you trying to kind of uncover what happened in this family and why they have been ostracized by their community. What makes this book creepy is the narrator. It does have sort of a unreliable narrator trope that is done really, really well. And it is very evident early on that the narrator is perhaps not mentally stable. And so it's really fascinating reading from her perspective and seeing how she views the world, and then seeing kind of what happened in this family. But yeah, this book gave me the serious creeps. Question number 3 is Vampire, a book you hated so much it was soul-sucking or incredibly tedious to get through. Sticking to books that I've read this year, I am so sad to say, I'm still so sad to say, because I read this entire book and really, I shouldn't have. I should have just DNF'd it when I was realizing I wasn't enjoying it, but I was like, surely it's going to get better. It didn't. That was Black Leopard Red Wolf by Marlon James. This was very disappointing because I heard a lot of great things about this book. There was a lot of hype around this book, and it was marketed in a way that made it sound really appealing. What it is really, it's a literary fiction novel with sort of a fantasy basis to it. But at the end of the day, this is literary fiction. Now, I have nothing against literary fiction. I love literary fiction, actually, when it's done well. I didn't think this was done well. I thought this was disturbing and graphic unnecessarily. That maybe reflects my own personal reading tastes, because I know a lot of people loved this book, but it is beyond graphic. I was very annoyed by some repeated phrases. It seemed like all the characters wanted to talk about were their genitalia all the time, and that got annoying really quickly. I just feel so sad about this book still, because it has such an interesting premise, and I think it could have been really good if he had taken it in maybe a little bit of a different direction. But I'm not the author, and I cannot judge the author for what he wants to do with this series. It is going to be a series, but it was not my cup of tea. It's an African-inspired fantasy, but it's also literary fiction, and there's a journey, and on this journey, really terrible things happen to the main character, and really it ended up being, in my opinion, a very hopeless feeling book, and I don't particularly enjoy hopeless books unless there's like a really clear purpose in the hopelessness. This didn't feel purposeful at all. It just felt hopeless. So I don't know why I still have this. I need to get rid of it. I'm never going to read this book again. Question number 4 is I Put a Spell on You. And this is a book featuring witchcraft or magic. I'm going to go with my current read, which is just perfect for this question. But that's The Other Wind by Ursula K. Le Guin. This is the last book in the Wizard of Earthsea series. And I am very much enjoying the wrap up of this series so far. I'm about halfway through. It's not very long. I'm going to finish this very quickly, I'm sure. This series has kind of been a whirlwind for me. It starts with The Wizard of Earthsea. That's the first book in the series. And I actually read the first book in the series like many years ago, and then never continued with the series. Reread the first book this year, loved it, and wanted to continue. So it's been like this. I loved the first 2 books, and then the middle of the series took a little dive. And now I feel like with these last couple of installments that I've read and continue to read, it's gone back up. So I hope you enjoyed my visual there. But there are wizards and witches in this book. The series has a lot of feminist statements and undertones to it. The witches in this book are looked down upon simply because they are women, and the magic that the witches do is considered by society as not as important, as more trivial. And what is interesting is you find these characters who are women that have a really big part of the magic system, and they have a big part of what's happening in the society. But there's always this prejudice against them, that they are witches, and witches are only meant to do like small spells, like you know, potions and like fixing people's broken limbs, and you know, not major things like wizards get to do, right? Wizards get to rule the world. So this series has that kind of dynamic going on with the magic system, and it's just been delightful to read. I love this series. I'm hoping this last book really wraps up everything really strongly. So halfway through, and I'm loving it. So I have a lot of hope for the end of the series. I'm so close. I'm so close to the end. Question number 5 is the song "This Is Halloween" from what's that movie? Wow, I know what this movie is called. The Nightmare Before Christmas. The question is your favorite treat or snack to eat while reading. I don't tend to read and eat very much because I find that really distracting. I'm more likely to drink something while reading, like water or maybe tea or coffee while I'm reading. But if I do have a snack, it's going to be something that's not very messy, something that I can just like easily kind of pop in my mouth, and it's not like, doesn't have any residue, so I don't get anything on any books. But a Halloween snack in particular that I have been craving is, weirdly enough, candy corn. I really like candy corn. I know a lot of people hate candy corn because it's just like really, really sweet. I love really sweet things. I love candy corn. I'm like wanting to go out right now and go get some candy corn because I don't have any. But that's kind of my favorite Halloween treat that comes out around this time of year is candy corn, and those pumpkin shaped candy corns. Yes, I love those. Question number 6 is time warp. what book or books did you like to return to at this time of year? So something else that happens in the month of October is Victober, which is a month-long readathon where you read Victorian novels. I participated last year and I read Dracula. I read Bram Stoker's Dracula and enjoyed that. I liked how seasonal it made me feel. Didn't love the book, but it was okay. This year I just had too many other projects, other reading projects going on, so I just decided not to do Victober this year. But I do think that October is a perfect time for those Gothic Victorian novels. So hopefully next year I will create space in my reading month where I can pick up some Victorian Gothic novels and participate in Victober next year. But this year I just had other things that I wanted to finish. Question number 7 is based off the song Hungry Like the Wolf by Duran Duran. And the question is, a book you loved so much you devoured. I'm going to go with The Nightingale by Kristen Hanna. I recently read this book. It's a very large book, and for me, a book like this might take several weeks. I think it only took me like 1 week, maybe a week and a half to finish. So with my reading pace, that's significant. This was a great book. Every time I had free time, I wanted to pick it up. It is so devastatingly sad, but so good. And it's a World War II novel. We follow 2 sisters in France in the middle of World War II. The Germans are occupying France, and so the 2 sisters take different journeys. One of the sisters becomes a very major part of the war, and the other sister stays home and is having to deal with Germans occupying her house, and you see what that's like and the ways in which it affects her and her daughter, and it's just horrifyingly sad and devastating, but it's so good. It's such a well-written book, very impactful, very emotional, and yeah, I devoured this book. Question number 8 is The Addams Family. Da-da-da-da. And it is a book featuring a dysfunctional family. I think no book that I've ever read has had as many dysfunctional families as The Casual Vacancy by J.K. Rowling. This book is all about dysfunction. It's about dysfunctions in society. It's about dysfunction in families. And we follow several different families in this book. It's actually quite a wide cast of characters. And none of these characters are good. They all have really selfish and terrible problems, and they don't relate to each other well, and basically people around them get hurt because of their issues and their selfishness, and it's just all about drama in a small town. If you enjoy small town drama and all the dysfunction you could possibly ever think of, The Casual Vacancy is the book for you. Question number 9 is Scary Monsters and Super Creeps, a book genre that you are scared or intimidated to pick up. I don't know if I'm intimidated by any one genre. I will read most things if I find them interesting. A genre that I don't really pick up that much is the thriller horror genre. And it's not necessarily that I don't like those books. It's more that I don't always know how to pick a good one. And I've tried a couple of thrillers this year, and most of them I haven't liked, except for Recursion by Blake Crouch. So as far as domestic thrillers go, I haven't really had a great experience with a domestic thriller yet. I really want to read more Stephen King and more horror, but I have to be in the right mood for it. It's not something that I want to pick up all year long. Like fantasy is something I could read all the time. But with horror, I wanted it to be in the Halloween season, and that's only 1 month out of the year. But there's so many interesting horror books that I would like to read. So I don't know, I just feel like I have to be in the right frame of mind for that kind of a read. Question number 10 is The Twilight Zone. And this is a book with a completely different or unique premise. For that, I'm going to go with A Wrinkle in Time by Madeleine L'Engle. This surprised me because I remember as a kid, I loved this book. I reread it about a month ago and found it to be so weird. It was very weird and abstract, and I guess I liked that sort of thing as a kid. I still do, but this book was just a lot weirder than I remember it being. It's got a sci-fi premise to it. It's about time travel. We have a concept of the Tesseract, and the children in this book are whisked away by these three witches, and the witches help them to find their father. Their father was on a sort of top secret spy mission that involved time travel, and so he becomes trapped in this alternate universe, and so they go and try to rescue their father. Upon rereading it, I felt like for a children's book, this had a very unique premise. I'm curious to see what the rest of the series is going to be like upon reread. I will be finishing this series this year. So, read the first one, was surprised at how weird it was. Those are all the questions in the Halloween song book tag. I'm going to tag a few people down below in the description. If you would like to do this tag, consider yourself tagged. You don't have to wait for me to tag you. Just do it. And it was a lot of fun, and I learned a few new songs, actually. I didn't know all the songs on this playlist, so thanks, Nicole, for creating a really fun tag to do. Be sure to subscribe if you want to see more from my channel, and talk to me down below. What are some of your favorite Halloween songs? What gets you in the Halloween mood? And what are some of your favorite spooky reads around this time of year? I hope you're all having a great day or night. Keep reading great books, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.